vibrations of Maha, Anu, and Ati manifest primordially as the three higher levels. By opening the doorway that leads beyond other approaches, based on causes or results, they guide fortunate beings to three levels of enlightenment. The culmination of all these, moreover, is found in the ultimate meaning of the Vajra heart essence. They must lead toward this superb, supreme secret, and so utter lucidity, sublimely unchanging, is the pinnacle of them all. This is renowned as the spiritual approach of the heart essence of manifest enlightenment. Furthermore, of the two alternatives within spiritual teaching, one involves a concerted effort to accept or reject. It is taught in order to refine away the habitual patterns of ordinary mind and mental events, whose nature it is to arise as a display due to dynamic energy. This approach holds that timeless awareness is purer than ordinary mind. The supreme teaching involves no concerted effort to accept or reject. Naturally occurring timeless awareness, the essence of awakened mind itself, is made fully evident in that one does not waver from the direct experience of it. So there is no need to strive for it elsewhere. It rests in and of itself. So do not seek it elsewhere. Longchenpa doubling up on the advice there in the last line. Picking up where we left off a few episodes back with the precious treasury of the basic space of phenomena. Find links in the show notes always at podcast.compassionaterecovery.us. The podcast is ad-free and has been for 13 years or something. I appreciate the donations over there at the website. There's a donation option there. Drop a couple ducats in the bucket. The show is going on weekly. I did upgrade the server to something manageable, something that's fast enough, and upgraded as well the hosting. And it kind of hits, and a little help is appreciated. Hit the donation button over there at podcast.compassionaterecovery.us. My name is Darren Littlejohn. Welcome to the 12-Step Buddhist Podcast, episode 89, a Tantric Refuge in Recovery and Components of a Practice Session, part 3. Well, there's a lot of movement, and things were stagnant. And when movement occurs, it's disruptive. You know what they say, the only thing worse for an alcoholic than bad luck is good luck. Well, the only thing harder, it's not worse for us, but it's just as hard. Well, it's subtle, but it's there. There's stress. And if you're triggered, if you've got high ACEs and you've got a fire alarm amygdala that goes ding, 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 no matter, when the wind blows, let's just say. When I was 16, when you're 16, something else happens when the wind blows. I think we all know what we're talking about there. And, anyways, we're sensitive like that in the, in the ACEs category. And, this model of compassionate recovery that I designed and created for you, that I encourage everyone to look at, because it is recovery your way. No box. Rethink recovery. No box. There's information that's available for everyone, but I created a picture of addiction, a picture of the brain mechanisms involved in addiction, trauma, and really how to repurpose that functionality of our brain, like brain engineers. You know what I mean? Like engineers of our own destiny, captains of our own starship enterprise. I mean, if you think about it, anybody who's got the ego enough to stand up there and talk about themselves, whether it's a Barack Obama or Captain Kirk, you got to think these guys are kind of knuckleheads in a certain sense, I don't know. I think Obama's pretty even keeled. But when you look at William Shatner, who did you need to be the captain of the Enterprise? You needed a guy who will boldly go where no man. And he is, if you ever follow the Stern Show, William Shatner is still like that. Okay. He embodies that. They made the character around him, not the other way around, right? So you kind of have to be the steward. You have to understand your responsibility as a Buddhist, you see. I get really sort of, I feel like it's sort of pathetic in a sense when people idolize anyone, but when people idolize their teacher in a certain way, it's really blind. It's really stupid. It's really missing everything. Let me just put this to you right now. If you idolize your teacher, you haven't heard a word I've said in 13 years. And I doubt that you understand what you're doing. And we're not here to idolize and externalize and reify and deify. Now that said, we got to understand how the mechanism of the mind works and how to apply it in a directed fashion to follow the instructions of lineage-based teachings. Okay? So this brings us into Tantric Refuge, because in lineage-based teachings, in energy, in Sambhogakaya, in Vajrayana, these are terms that they're not interchangeable, and they all have definitive meanings, which we're not going into, but these are words that you hear that mean things. Vajrayana, the diamond vehicle, the energy vehicle, the Sambhogakaya manifestation of energy of Buddha, in this dimension. I've talked about the Mahasiddhas who, I don't know if they're dropping some version of peyote. There must be. I don't know. I know they're practicing a thing called Chilen, which is, learning to exist on the energy of the elements. It's a very, insanely high level meditation practice. They go into a retreat and they're just, in a yogi position forever or for however long that lasts. And I know that there are those, those types of things. But when we're talking about taking refuge, we're talking about taking refuge in our practice. We're talking about having faith in our teacher. And we're not talking about worshiping or idolizing. If you're a baby and you're looking for mommy, or daddy, you're blowing it. You're wrong. Come on now, just look at it. Just look at what you're doing, okay? So you got to assume responsibility. Number one, if you're going to take refuge in recovery, if you're going to be in recovery and be a Buddhist, then, I'm not bashing or talking down anybody's anything. I'm happy everybody's doing everything. It's fantastic. This is my thing. This is how I do, right? So in the Sutra refuge, which is probably what most people are familiar with, and most people don't know that there's a difference in Buddhist systems. All right, well, I'm educated on this, seasoned and well practiced. So here you go. What you got? I listened to a lot of masters for a long time. This is how I practice, this is how I view, this is where I'm at. This is how I take Tantric refuge in recovery. Okay, so we have to understand for the Sutric refuge, for the stuff you probably are used to, we say I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. We did this. We've had episodes on it, right? And it could be external, it could be the teaching, it could be the group, but I wanted you, and we did a lot of work in meditations on these episodes to kind of get you into a sense of being refuge. That was actually a really popular episode. The most popular episode was the first one in the Refuge in Recovery series called Being Refuge. So if you haven't listened to that one, I recommend go back and listen to that one. A lot of people do like it. You can get all the episodes on any of your Spotify, YouTube, all the different things, or iTunes, all of that. And shout out to all the people on the earth in Australia. Thank you, mate. Thank you, all y'all down there, because tell you what, hey, thanks for not being like a violent, crazy country down there too, giving us an idea that let's reflect back. Wow, what the heck, the USA, hello. Calm it, people. Let's get on our compassion tip. Let's ride, let's ride our energy, the Vajrayana. What we're doing is we're transforming our energy from some poison into some wisdom, right? We have 5 poisons, we have 5 wisdoms. This is the Vajra, right? And I'm not a Vajra master. I'm telling you what what we're doing here. Tantric refuge, right? So what it means is we're taking refuge in, when you're in sutra, you just take refuge in your vows, in your practice. You're accepting and you're rejecting, like Chempa talked about. This is the vehicle. It's called the lower vehicle. Don't trip. I should be in the lower vehicle most of my day. I should be keeping my mouth shut and zipping my lip and keeping my hands to myself. Most of the time, I really need to be a sutra practitioner, okay? Understand this. It's one path. And there are different moments, and we have to be able to have a toolkit, right? If we're going to be a Dharma wizard of sorts, you kind of have to be, because there's so much mental landscape. There's so much phenomena in the universe. There's so much character, things and karma and all this and that. So at any rate, not to get too off track in our dilemma, we understand our dilemma. That's why we take refuge, right? But instead of taking refuge where there's not really refuge in the teacher, you're taking refuge. And if you're taking refuge at the sutric level and you're not taking refuge with a qualified Vajra master, and then you're in idolatry and bullshit with your egoic bullshit of your egoic teacher there. So I'm warning you on that. I'm giving you some solid advice. I'm cutting through the bullshit. I don't care. Bring it. You want to argue with me? Bring it. I'll get you on the air. Bring it. Argue with me. I don't care who you are. Bring it. I'm feisty today. Energy is moving, right? So that's what we do in Tantra is we don't squash it. We don't reject the energy. We don't say, oh my God, that's my anger. I really gotta fucking. Like I said, I gotta do that a lot too. But when I'm able to, I can get in a tantric space. Understand that the teaching comes through. It's more than refuge and vows. It's refuge. There are tantric vows. I wrote a book on it. But the refuge in Tantra is in the guru, and the guru is the teacher in front of you who is a qualified lineage holder in a lineage-based system, right? They have rules and procedures and processes. They have tests. You cannot fake your way as an enlightened being to another enlightened being. Have you ever looked at a master? Have you ever met the Dalai Lama in person? Anything like this? They look through you in a way that you can't, it's like a transmission right then. Like you see, you're like pulled back. You're like, whoa, what's reflected in the way they're seeing me right now? I'm still working with one I got one time in 2007 or 8 in Spain. I'm still, wow. In Lama Zopa, I'm still working with. And Lama Zopa passed, and I'm closer. In Guru Yoga, I'm closer to Lama Zopa than ever in Guru. Someone asked me, another yogi asked me, are you able to, I said, yeah, I'm closer than ever. And that's Guru Yoga, because the teacher represents Buddha. You have to have this view. The view of the teacher is Buddha. So the view that you have of the teacher must be representation of Buddha, symbolic of Buddha's state. And you must understand that in the Vajrayana system, everything that you've ever learned in sutra is already, this is a master already, has already mastered that. All the stuff that you've ever learned in your decades of meditation practice at the sutra, if you are not, you know how you know your sutra? I'm telling you, if you're not with a qualified tantric master lineage holder, everything else is some mishmash, watered down, diluted, or, okay, and it's fine, we can put together, we do whatever we want, but telling you what this lineage-based stuff is. And the teacher is guru, and you practice guru yoga. So you understand that the teacher is representation of enlightened state, enlightened being. And you practice guru yoga. And that's why you'll see people put their palms at the crown, and then the forehead, and then the throat, and then the heart. And you know what? We can do that. We can say Om for the body, the Nirmanakaya, the physical dimension. I recognize that this is my physical dimension. It is illusory. It is light waves that are super concentrated that kind of appears, really appears, I'm super convinced it's real and I'll defend it to the death, right? This kind of apparition. Just kind of recognize our physical state is an apparition. It's apparitional. Just try to get a sense of it. Try to let go of your sense of it being material and solid. We can say this, Om. And in the energy state, energy of the Sambhogakaya, the transmissions of the Mahasiddhas and the wisdom deities, of which there are so many thousands in Vajrasattva essence, as we discussed in Step 11 of the 12-Step Buddhist. You should get that book at your bookstore and ask for my other ones. But we did discuss this Guru Yoga as a very different way, a tantric way of taking refuge in Step 11. That was a long time ago. And, here we are. And how is it now? Well, we have the teacher who's a manifestation of Vajrasattva before us. It's not exclusively Vajrasattva, but when we get an initiation, like I've had so many initiations with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and he's passed, and now, I imagine my teacher's sitting right there, right in front of me. I feel him, the warmth. I can smell the incense and I can see the Buddhas, and it's the refuge field is right here, right now. It's not some projection. It's really right now. And somehow you gotta just know that and have a seat. Take refuge like your teacher's right there. And you're not taking refuge in your teacher as Buddha in the same way if you have not had transmissions and initiations from a qualified lineage-holding Vajra master who is actually a manifestation of the expression of the wisdom deity in the Nirmanakaya flesh. Okay? So I know that's a lot of terminology, but there's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to get through a lot of ideas kind of quickly to give you some sense, because we didn't really cover too much in what's Tantric Refuge in the previous episodes. And it occurred to me as I was taking Tantric Refuge this morning that really should have covered that. So apologies, but here we go. And the guru is in front of you, and Om, Ahung, and Hung is the mind, blue light. So you got white light at the forehead, Om. You got red light at the throat, Ah. You got blue light at the heart center, Hung. Find that heart center of the mind essence. Check it out. Inhale, let it go. Exhale. Pause, empty, relax, hang. You're not spaced out. You're in space, but really, really globally aware. Really focused in such a way that your focus doesn't disturb anything in the room. You see? It's undisturbable. Your focus can't be disturbed if your focus is this light essence. You see, so we have teachings to help us get into these states, and we have instructions, but in order to do that, since it's energy-based stuff, you have to have the energy. You can't steal the secrets and go teach it. It doesn't work. You're in a lineage-based thing. It's a chain. It's a chain. It's a link of enlightenment to enlightenment to enlightenment to enlightenment to enlightenment in the dimension of enlightenment. So understand, this is a different thing, Majingi, here than you're thinking about in your typical take refuge in the Buddha, but you shouldn't be taking refuge in some knucklehead. You can take refuge in the Buddha, though. You can take refuge in the vows, as I've talked about all along. But here, in this sense, you got to understand what the teacher is. Understand that the teacher is an extension of the chain. Say the chain of enlightenment, of enlightened energy, enlightened intent, timeless awareness, as we read in Longchenpa all the time. So in order to practice in a qualified way, we have to have the teachings and the instructions from a qualified teacher. Doesn't it make sense if it's tennis? Do you want a tennis jock? Do you want a tennis hack? Or do you want John McEnroe or whomever, one of the Williams sisters, etc.? You get it. Who do you want to be your teacher? Understand who you want to be your role model and your teacher. What does Paul Simon say? Who's going to be my role model when all my role models are gone? Buddha. Lots of ways to take refuge. In the Vajra refuge, in the Tantric refuge, in the Vajrayana system, originated in Tibet, passed down through Mahasiddhas, cave-dwelling yogis in enlightened states, their staff taking notes, writing it down, learning, teaching, getting enlightened, passing it on, getting enlightened, passing it on, getting enlightened, passing it on. In a continuous unbroken chain, folks. The real deal. I know this is also the laying of hands in Christianity. I'm just, not discounting anything. I'm letting you know what is the Vajrayana, the Vajra vehicle, the path, transformation. How do we I don't know. We take refuge in the Guru. Om Ahum. Inhale. How is your body just now? How is it in your body just now? Red light manifesting at the throat. That was white light at the head chakra for Om. And here we are in the energy, essence. Take a refuge in the wisdom deities, infinite, all around us. Rainbows, enlightened wisdom, blessings fall like lotus blossoms on all beings who suffer, just melting into all beings' hearts. eliminating and eradicating all suffering for all beings. This is enlightened intent. There are characteristics, and then there's Hum. The mind essence, blue light, heart center. So it's white Om, red Ah, blue Hum, forehead, throat, heart. Inhale. Exhale. Om. Enlightened speech. That's not me and my ego over there. Those words come from the unbroken lineage. And Vajrasattva being the representation of all the deities, all Vajrasattva, light, diamond, trillions of unlimited facets, illuminating essence, energy, real, moving up into, okay, I got stable with some emptiness, and now I'm getting some clarity on the energy stuff here with the with the Sambhogakaya, notice how it is in your breath, your energy. Just now, when we're in the Hung essence, we're trying to kind of just notice how it is in the mind state, and everything is mind. Just consider that everything is mind, and everything is a projection from this false dualistic sense. And I am Vajrasattva, really, rainbow light, not fucking around here, kids. When you have the initiation, you visualize Vajrasattva as you, crystal diamond essence, rainbow, bam, radiant, translucent, white, full, lips, huge, eyes leading to infinity. Just take that knowledge for yourself. Pick that up. Pick up that knowledge that it's in you, it is you. Just know that. This is Tantric Refuge in a sense. Om Ahum, the Guru Yoga, the unbroken lineage, the master in front of you, the initiations, the understanding of the energy level. You have to understand the energy dimension in Tantric Refuge, okay? And we can say Om Ahum, but if we want to have a deity practice, then we get that transmission. We might say Om Vajrasattva Hum. If we have those transmissions, we may practice the 100-syllable mantra. I'm not going to go into it. I've done it on other episodes. It's around. You can find it. If you want Tantric Refuge, it's a faster path. It's the razor blade path. It can chop you up and chew you up. It's like you're bringing your whole bullshit into the chopping mill, and the teacher's like Edward Scissorhands, Vajramaster, slice that shit up. Whatever your delusion is, it's only compassion. It's only compassion. They're just not. They're in Buddha. They're not taking bullshit. It's not possible to take bullshit, right? So whatever you throw up to the guru comes back like grenades in some video game where it's all sharp things and what have you. I don't play video games, but you probably do. So you get it. There's some new AI shit coming down the pike on that. It'll blow people away. But anyways, I'm not going down the VR route myself personally, but in the Vajra essence, it's kind of a VR, it's kind of a virtual reality space that you understand for yourself in the energy dimension, and the 5 colors manifesting, and the 5 Buddha families manifesting out of the 5 poisons. When we take Tantric Refuge, we do so in the beginning the same way with the intention to benefit all beings. We know that going through. It's Mahayana. We don't have to convince ourselves. We already know that. We already knew that. It's already part of our deal. One of the building blocks. The building block of practice is to understand samsara, that you're in it, the 4 noble truths, what they are, path leading out of suffering, 6 paramitas, 10 paramitas, generosity, patience. All these things, practice of prajna, getting your samadhi, your awareness. It's not just one thing, one time, one moment. Don't hold on to it. Don't cling. Don't get addicted to what you think is your Buddha state, which is a fantasy. Get a teacher who will slice your delusions, and when you're in your meditation and you practice Guru Yoga long enough, your teacher is present. You're present as the guru. You're present in the manifestation. You're not walking around with your dick swinging. You're not an ego idiot. That will F you up in long-term hells in your energy level. And this happens, and you see these twists. People, ego is very subtle. So the tantric practice goes into very subtle levels of channels and chakras within the body, with seed syllables and energy, visualizations, experiences, and holds, and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot more to it than you would get. And people confuse it because we do a lot of this stuff in Hindu yoga and Hatha yoga, and all of our yoga systems borrowed from, that we teach and practice and think we know something, but not that many people in the yoga world, and I've been in it for many years, since 2010, and not too many of them actually are Vajrayana practitioners. If you find anyone who are, they're teaching in a very different way, right? You have people who have some knowledge of this, then have a more grounding, and understanding that a wisdom. You can, once you can see things in a certain way, like as reflections and not as real, then you can't really, you can delude yourself if you want. I suppose you can drink yourself into some confusion, but once you really get a good solid foundation of practice with the building blocks, understand refuge, understand bodhicitta. We spent 37 episodes on compassion and bodhicitta. Understand who we're doing this for, how we're doing it, what the end game is. Okay, you got to know there's a goal, and you got to abandon the effort to reach the goal. It's just weird. It's just how we got to do it. You got to learn all of your techniques, and then, you go down your bunny slopes, and you're worried about your snow plowing, and then at some point you're unable to think because you're in flow. Every athlete knows flow, right? So this is kind of more in the energy flow, and not in the same regard, but probably in some sense in the same regard, really, in the principle of it. Okay, so we take refuge in this way in the Tantric. There's a lot more to say about it, but Om Ahum will represent this. We can do this just this way. It's enough. It's sufficient. If we practiced it, if we practiced Om Ahum to the conclusion, we would be in Vajra essence. Ultimately, the conclusion is it's inevitable. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed to eventually occur. See, this is what happens. It's different in the Vajrayana system than it is in what you probably are aware of as what you think is Buddhist and what you think is the only thing of your framework is Buddhism. And most people don't know this, and I'm not arrogant, I'm educating you. There's a different program. There's a lot of different programs over time, and this is a real cool one because, what happens is you get to be a lot freer in your movement, but you can't just walk around, being a bully. You gotta sit down and shut your mouth and do sutra. You got to understand how to get into contemplation, how to get in peace of mind, how to tap into compassion whenever. These are all refuge practices, and we start and we do it with the intention for all beings, and then we end and we dedicate the merits for all beings. May this practice and all of my Dharma activities bring every being to perfect and total enlightenment right now. Grab the books, hit the donation page on the website. Thanks for those who have come in from Mexico. Appreciate you. Muchas gracias, amigo. Buenos dias, buen tarde, buenas noches, whatever time you're listening, and wherever you are, I will hit you next week. New things on the horizon. Until then, peace out and namaste.